Hi, my name's Professor Nora Colton. I'm the Deputy Vice-Chancellor Academic at the University of East London. I'm also an economist. What I'd like to do today is just talk to you a little bit about the historical decision that the UK citizens have made in terms of the EU referendum to exit the European Union. This really is a very surprising and very important decision that's been made. So many of you might be wondering why? Why now? Why did the UK citizens decide to exit the European Union? And there are many reasons. One of the important reasons is that the European Union has been very contentious in the UK. There is a feeling among many UK citizens that the laws and the legislation has not been positive for them, that the benefits of being in the European Union do not outweigh the costs. So what are those issues? Well, one of the bigger issues has been immigration and the movement of people, and that has really resonated with a lot of people in Britain because they worry about jobs, the economy. One of the things that we've seen over the last few years, really since 2008 and the global financial crisis, which really, I think it's easy to underestimate just what a significant impact that had on Europe and the UK. They haven't been able to really recover at the same rate as places like the US that also felt the global financial crisis. And one of the reasons is that there are significant demographic and market behaviors that affect these markets much more than the US. So if we think about the UK, we think about the government having in 2008, with that crisis, having to take on a lot more sovereign debt to help bail out the banks and to keep the system financially stable. And with that meant that there was then a slowdown, a significant slowdown in the economy. And this has affected jobs. It's affected the sectors that have been able to stabilize. And ironically enough, the sector that has recovered the most is the financial sector. But that sector is really located in London. So if you think about the rest of the UK, you can see that the economy has been really sluggish and it hasn't recovered at the same rate. The other thing is there's a demographic issue. Britain is an aging society, like its European counterparts. And so particularly when you go out of London, you find that the average age of people starts to go up. And that means then that as people get older, they don't spend as much. They need to save for their retirement. And so those very people then are not stimulating the economy in the same way that a younger population does. So all of this then has affected the economy's ability to recover. Because when people spend money, they stimulate the economy. It has a multiplier effect. And when they don't spend money and they save, actually it's called the paradox of thrift. It actually takes money out of the economy. So what we've seen since the global financial crisis is a Britain that has a lot of sovereign debt, who has an economy that's sluggish, that just doesn't seem to be able to recover, to get back up to its strength. And this has really bared down on the psyche of the British population because they are very concerned about their future. They're very concerned about the future of their children. Look at Europe. We see similar patterns. But because Britain has had the pound, because it hasn't adopted the euro, and because the economy has gotten a little bit better, Britain has experienced a lot of in-migration. And it's not just from international, from outside the European Union. Lots of it has been through the European Union. And this has caused a lot of people in Britain to feel like that immigration is not a good thing. Now, I would disagree with that firmly. In fact, one of the problems is that they don't have enough immigration because those immigrants, those young immigrants, actually come in, earn money, and spend money here in Britain. So they're actually stimulating the economy. But that is often hard to understand when you're in a rural part of the UK where you might not be seeing that stimulus because the youth that are coming from Europe, most of your foreign students are, and citizens and people, they're coming to London. And so London is really a bubble in itself. And that's why if you look at that vote yesterday, it's very revealing. You actually see London as a bubble within England. It was the place where people voted very decisively to remain, whereas all the rest of England voted to leave. And that really has to do with that demographic economic story. And that's a very important story. So now, what are the implications? Well, there are many. First of all, we see that the British pound has dropped to a 35-year low against the dollar. Why? Nothing changed today, but markets are driven by expectations. And those expectations are that there will be lots of uncertainty, there will be lots of change. You have a prime minister who has agreed to step down. So the future of England, the future of the UK stands in question. Also, it's very important to note that Scotland voted to remain. And now, over the weeks, over the next month, they'll begin another debate on whether Scotland should remain in the UK. So this really is an extremely historical moment. It's extremely important politically, but you cannot separate that political discourse from the economic discourse. And that's why you see the drop in the currency, which will have all sorts of implications going forward. So yes, if you're coming, you're an international student, it's a great time to come, particularly if you're coming from a country where you're going to be dealing with dollars. In the short run, this is a very perfect time because your purchasing power has never been stronger. Over the long term, though, we can anticipate that there will be inflation. We will see that there will be a lot of complexity to try to unbundle the UK from the European Union. And you might ask, well, already I use a different, kind of visa. You got the pound, they don't use the euro, but you don't underestimate the legislation, the trade side. It's much more than just the people side that makes the European Union. It's all the integration of the economies through trade, through a common agricultural policy, through industrial policies, and the unbundling of all those policies over the next few years, if this goes forward, will have a tremendous effect on both Europe and the UK. Thank you.